found an old vintage car or truck that you're interested in, and you contact the owner. Well, they don't have a title. Maybe they lost it. Maybe they bought this property and the vehicle was abandoned and left behind. Maybe they pulled it out of the bushes. Maybe they inherited it. Maybe they just bought it with the idea of flipping it, but they don't have a title. So it's cash outright. Maybe they'll provide you with a bill of sale, but is that going to be enough for you to get a new title in your name so that you can get license plates and legally drive it on the road? Now, most of the information that I'm going to share with you today is general, and it's going to vary based on your state, and that's why it's important for you to contact your local Department of Motor Vehicles and get the specific information related to your area. But I am going to lay some groundwork, and hopefully with the information you get from me, you'll feel a little more comfortable proceeding, and you can make a better informed decision on whether buying a classic car or truck without a title is the right decision for you. Now, the majority of the time, if a seller could get a title before they listed the vehicle, then they would have done it. I mean, after all, a vehicle with a title, they're going to be able to ask more money for it, and they're going to attract more buyers. Your 1993 F-150 may show 4 owners on a title search. However, it may have had 6 or 7, just folks that didn't bother to transfer the title. There is a difference between possession and ownership, and for several reasons. Maybe they plan on having a quick turnaround and they just don't want to wait for the title processing. Maybe they don't want to endure the extra expense of sales taxes or title processing fees. Most states have a limit on the number of vehicles in a single year that a private individual can buy and sell. So not having to put your name on a title, well, that's sort of like avoiding a strike. Now, with the late model cars, it's pretty much illegal to sell one of those vehicles without the title in your name, unless you're a licensed dealer. Now, of course, in most states, once a vehicle's 25, 35, 40 years old, they don't require a title. Sometimes an antique bill of sale, maybe it's notarized, a trooper's inspection. Some states are more lax than others. However, again, I'm trying to give you just a general idea of what goes on, because in my state of Tennessee, for example, it's very easy to get an antique car registered in your name. Now, they may want to verify that there's been no activity on it in the last 5 years. They may do an attempt to contact the previous owner on the title if you don't go in with the seller. All right, before I get too far down the road, I want to back up a little bit and just kind of slow down. I want to talk about some very basic information. Prior to you going out and meeting with the seller and looking at the vehicle, it's probably very important that you either get a hold of them on the phone or just contact them online, text, however, so that you can get some information about the vehicle, specifically the VIN number, the Vehicle Identification Number. And if they can provide that to you, there are sources online, most of them for a very small fee, where you can provide them with the number and they can give you the background or the history of the vehicle. Or you can just go to your local driver's services facility, give them the VIN number, and they should be able to tell you fairly quickly if it's, number one, been stolen. Number two, if there are liens against the title. Or if it's got a salvage or a junk title, if it's been in an accident. And that can save you a lot of frustration. Because I can tell you firsthand, early on with buying and selling cars, there were several times where I made long trips, hundreds of miles, all day, only to find out there was something that ultimately killed the deal that I could have easily found out before I ever got in the truck and turned the key. What happens if you buy, unknowingly, a stolen muscle car? Well, once you try to get the title transferred into your name, or a title into your name, plates and tags, your local authorities are going to inform you that the car does not belong to you. When that vehicle was reported stolen, whether it was a year ago, 20 years ago, the insurance company would have made a payout on that claim, and they would be the rightful owners. Even though the car may have only turned up now, They are the owners. You're going to lose out on the vehicle and your money, and you may not have a whole lot of recourse. Liens. Now, it's unlikely that most of these old vintage cars are going to have car payments that were due, but there can be other sorts of liens, debts owed, personal property taxes. In some states, you're required to pay a tax on your vehicles yearly, and regardless of whether you're the new owner or not, you may be liable for those taxes. Also, when it comes to titles and VIN numbers, make sure the two match. You can call and verify the VIN number has no liens or issues with it, but you should also make sure when you're on site that you can match the VIN number of the vehicle up to the VIN number on the title. You don't want to find out anything bad about that after the fact either. This truck is a 1980 GMC. Somebody could have put a 79 K10 frame on it. The cab may be for a two-wheel drive C10. The VIN number on the dash would reflect that it's a two-wheel drive C10 1980 GMC truck. The frame may tell you that it's a 1979 K10 four-wheel drive truck. An original title will be able to verify and prove whether there are liens or no liens versus just a plain bill of sale. If you are not the registered owner of a vehicle, you cannot get a duplicate title. Not unless you have something such as a power of attorney that authorizes you to act as an agent of the owner of record. A bill of sale is a record of the transaction. The title is a record of the owner and their authorization to possess and to sell that vehicle. If the owner of a vehicle is deceased and their name is on the title, the only person approved to sign on behalf of the seller is somebody who, for example, would have power of attorney, and they may have to provide a death certificate in order for the Department of Motor Vehicles to approve and process title transfer into your name. So maybe you didn't verify the VIN number beforehand, but you still want to try and prevent things from coming to bite you in the rear end after the fact. For example, maybe the previous owner was dead and somebody in the family sold it without authorization. Maybe it was supposed to go to a nephew. Now they're filing a claim. The abandoned property that it was bought off of, well, now the previous owner of that property files a claim. Or there were credit liens against that title, and the creditor has now been notified and they're filing a claim. What you could have done in that case to prevent some of these things from coming back on you is to get what's called a bonded title. I also know of a case or two where the seller had liens against the vehicle, and what they did was applied for a duplicate title, trying to pass that off as not having any liens. Normally, Department of Motor Vehicles will hold a duplicate title for a period of time, 15, 20 days, depends. However, you can still call directly and find out if there's anything against that vehicle. So yes, it is possible for you to obtain a bonded title based on a bill of sale. Now, with a lot of these old cars, they've been sitting on blocks for 35 years, and they have not had yearly re-registration, updates, anything like that. Some states are starting to wipe that data off their books, and so that's why it's so important for when you go in to transfer ownership into your name that you have the most recent, updated, verifiable, legitimate documentation. So it can be very important to have, for example, a notarized bill of sale. Or if the seller is willing, have them go in with you when you register the vehicle. If you have an abandoned vehicle on your property and you're trying to get it transferred into your name, you may need to get a signed, notarized affidavit declaring the vehicle was abandoned and under your custody. So what is the process for obtaining a bonded title? Well, first you will make contact with a title bond company, and for a specified amount, they will issue you a bonded title. Now, of course, in every case, there will be attempts, at least one, to notify the record of ownership, previous owner. And if the previous owner does not make contact or file a claim, you're good to go. If they should file a claim and their claim proves to be valid, well, then the title bond company will pay that owner the full value of the vehicle, and you, in turn, will pay the insured upon amount to the title bond company. In return for your payment, the bond company is backing up your word that you are the rightful owner to the vehicle. Now, there are probably thousands of old cars and trucks being sold back and forth every day, and sometimes with little more than cash for keys. Maybe sometimes just cash. Most of the time, there's not an issue. And if you're buying the car or the truck for parts, maybe you think it doesn't matter, unless it's stolen. However, a lot of these things that I've said today, you might not think applies to you, and they may not. But you may run into a problem down the road. And it's better to know that information now and not have to use it than have an issue later and wish that you knew what you know now. Anyway, folks, I appreciate you sticking around and watching. We're trying to put out content every week, but if you've got any comments or questions or complaints, leave them down below. Otherwise, like and subscribe, and we'll see you again real soon. From American Outdoors, thanks for watching. Bye-bye, folks.